So let's start the conversation with just talking about what is play-based learning? That's where we want to get started with as we really think about what are we talking about when children can come together to make free choice, to come together to explore and investigate and collaborate and partner together. But that all comes with some intentionality, with some teacher guidance that goes along with this, right? What you're going to hear from us today is play doesn't happen by accident. Play is really intentional. And it can take on a variety of different hats as we see it in action. And that's where we'll get started today.
So why play-based learning? Well, there's lots, and we're going to go through many things today, but we wanted to start with this one, and that is vocabulary. Play gives children meaningful reasons to use new words and learn new words because they're talking and they're pretending. And when they use them, and this is a research study, so all of this, again, I'm a researcher, right? So I'm going to give you what the research says, not gospel according to Brian and Darcy or teaching strategies, but this is research based. When preschoolers learn new words through shared reading and then they practice them through guided play, they then use those words, they internalize them, they become part of their vocabulary. I think back to my years in the classroom, we talked about tier one, tier two, and tier three vocabulary and the knowledge basis for each word. Young children can learn and use and know tier three vocabulary when it's taught and practiced through play.
It
And
was one of my first memories in consulting with teaching strategies, Darcy. When I first started, I went and observed some classrooms. So I wasn't familiar with creative curriculum yet. And they were doing a trees study and they were outside. And this child comes up and I was like, oh, tell me what you're playing. I'm an arborist and I'm looking at this deciduous tree right now. And my mind was just like blown at exactly what you're saying of this rich vocabulary that he was using. But he had on his arborist hat and was speaking and using the vocabulary of deciduous and coniferous trees as he was looking around what he could see from the playground, because he had stepped into that more elevated role of an arborist. I was sold in that moment.
so also play-based learning supports literacy skills. All of the literacy skills, symbolic thinking, language, storytelling. It doesn't say it here in this quote, but there's other ones. The research that shows it builds phonological awareness skills. It builds early alphabetic knowledge, all of those things. And so I love this little picture. This is a picture from my past as a coach. I was coaching in a preschool classroom, and one day the preschoolers came to me and they were working on, they had a growing theme, planting theme that they were working on. And so they were had read The Little Red Hen and then they were acting it out. And so they were creating this own play, actually, their own written play that they were doing for their parents. And the hen broke her leg. Um, I'm sure that probably was two children tugging. I don't know. I don't know the backstory, but they come to me with this. And this is January of a pre-K 4 classroom. And they had gone to the teacher, and the teacher says, like, well, how can you solve this problem? You know, Miss Darcy sews. And so they wrote this. And you can see even their symbolic thinking. Here's the hen.
A little
And there's
floating
an arrow
leg.
showing you the leg that is no longer attached to the hen. Um, and look at the literacy skills. Hen broke, please fix. I totally understand. So, and that wasn't the teacher sitting them down at a small group table saying, let's write Miss Darcy a letter. It was like, what are you going to do? And they did this on their own. And that's play-based learning. That's how it supports literacy, among other ways. That also goes to this next point, which is problem solving, right? Those 4-year-olds were being problem solvers. They had a broken hand, they needed it fixed. And so during play, children are practicing all of that higher order thinking skills. They're planning and figuring out what they want to do. They're solving problems that come up in the moment, and they're making decisions that for them, they're real world, they're meaningful. If you've ever watched dramatic play in a preschool classroom, you know a lot about what they do in their personal time at home through what's being acted out, right, Brian? And
Yeah.
they're practicing those decision making skills there.
Well, and I think that's such a great point when you talk about dramatic play. See, I said we wouldn't be able to help ourselves from getting to strategies, but that's really intentionally why in the creative curriculum, dramatic play is a home environment at the beginning of the year. Because of exactly what you said, Darcy, is like they take on these roles and there's a lot of similarities, right? Everyone's family looks different, but as we bring in the roles of we've got pets, we've got siblings, we've got parents, we've got grandparents, it's this shared knowledge and kind of safe space for children to start playing in that dramatic play way to build some of that confidence. And then we transition with the different study topics that it becomes, you know, a seed store, a market, a laundromat, or whatever. But that everything you just said around it, building that high order thinking, that problem solving, that social emotional connection, that's that strong intention of it starting as that home environment. So those real world contexts are shared to start. But then as we introduce studies, then we have new context and shared knowledge of places that we can invite children to pretend in.